Tetchville Parish School Board meeting has begun. And tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance and opening ceremony will be turned over to Mr. Toller, and all military and active military, please render the proper salute. Mr. Toller.
Yeah, last week I had a chance to go to Veterans Day program at Chesbro, where Miss Gonzalez, little Miss Eden Gonzalez, sang the national anthem and did a wonderful job, and I thought it would be really good to get her to come to share her talent with us tonight. But tonight we have Miss Gonzalez is going to sing the national anthem, and I have my daughter Darby, which is going to do the pledge. I'm ask both of you to come up. Eden is the daughter of Randy and Rachel Gonzalez. Rachel is one of our teachers at one of our top Gaines schools, by the way. And her dad, Randy, is one of our volunteer coaches at Sumner. Eden goes to Sumner Middle School, and Darby goes to Roseland, and of course her mom is Stacy, and she teaches at Roseland, and we're proud to have both of them tonight. So we'll ask you to please stand. We'll start with the pledge, Darby.
Attention, salute, pledge. A pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Eden, thank you very much. Darby, thank you. I'm going to ask the Gonzalez's to stand. Those that are here support Eden. And also Darby's clan. I know I saw her brother come in. Thank y'all very much. Proud
That was
of-
beautiful. Good job.
I'm biased, but
It was
proud of
wonderful.
them.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
great.
no reason to be biased, Tom Toller. Girl, that was wonderful.
It was that.
Stand up here and do that. That was awesome.
Beautiful. Big voice for a little girl. Beautiful. Next item is roll call. Miss Jenkins.
Ms. Richards?
Present.
Mr. Toller?
Here.
Ms. Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Present.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Bush?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Ms. Simmons?
Here.
Ms. Dominguez?
Present.
Item D, consider approval of the Board of Minutes of November the 5th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Mr. Toller, a second by
Second.
Ms. Janice. Second. Any objection?
Madam President, I'd like to,
Wait, any objection?
Oh.
She's waiting. Objection first.
She's got to do objection first.
okay,
Okay, no objection?
no objection.
Motion passes. All right, Mr. Moore.
All right, I need to make a motion to
Add an item.
suspend the policy rules so that we can approve the policy from the committee meeting from November 19th.
Or do we have a second to make this amendment? Second? Who?
Second.
All right, Mr. Mingus, all right, go ahead. Any objection? Motion passes.
That's to waive the rules.
That's to waive the rules. Now, what's the item?
It's on the agenda.
Okay, it's on, yeah.
Okay,
on
all
the
right, so
agenda.
we already accepted it, so no objection, all right?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mingus.
I need to make a motion to waive the rules to add substantial completion on a project at Ponchatoula High School.
All right, do we have a second to waive the rules?
Waive the rules, yeah.
Second by Mr. Westmoreland. Any objection? The motion passes to waive the rules. Am I going too fast? Okay, hold up. Say when. Okay, Mr. Mingus.
Okay, I'd like to add, are we ready, Ms. Jenkins? I'd like to add to the agenda tonight to waive the rules to add substantial completion for the wheelchair lift at Ponchatoula High School gym.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Westmoreland, any objection to adding that item?
The motion to add it to the agenda.
Yes.
You got that, Ms. Jenkins? Okay.
Okay. No objection, motion passes. All right. Awards and recognize a recipient of the Enos Jake Bailey Jr. Above and Beyond Award. And do we have the one that nominated this individual here? Right. Would you come forth, please, the individual that nominated this person, and anybody else? Mr. Strickland's going to do it? All right, come. We'd like to call up Ms. Carolyn Milton. Ms. Carolyn, this award is the UNICEF Jake Bailey Above and Beyond Award, because you've gone above and beyond your normal duties, and we're going to hear about that in a minute. And this is recognition of you being the recipient, and you also have a $15 gift certificate to Don Seafood in Hammond. And Mr. Strickland, are you going to say a few words?
Sure.
All right.
Well, Carol is a nurse at Ponchatoula High School, but she's much more than a nurse there. She is part of the family, a true friend, incredibly hard worker. But she's being recognized tonight because we had a coworker there at Ponchatoula High School about 2 months ago who went down on the job, suffered a brain aneurysm. Now, we didn't know that. Obviously, Carolyn did, okay, because she was a lot more in tune with things than the rest of us were. One of the maintenance workers actually convinced the custodian to come to the nurse's office. Right away, Carolyn took charge, dialed 911 the whole time. The custodian, the lady custodian, is saying, no, 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 don't do it. You know, luckily, Carolyn did. You know, she recognized that it had to be done. It had to be done now. Our co-worker spent 37 days in the hospital. She is still currently in the rehab unit at North Oaks and is going to be there for quite some time. But it saved her life. She is recovering. I talk to her husband quite frequently, and you know, he's very thankful, very excited for the quick action that took place there that day. Okay, and we realized that very quickly we could have had a very sad and sorrowing situation on our hands. But Carolyn was there, and she reacted with Godspeed, and she's alive today. And she is recovering because of it. So, you know, I just can't say how much it means for us to have someone on staff that's got those qualities, that knowledge, that understanding and that instinct to just do what needs to be done. You know, and so for that, I say thank you very much, Carol.
I don't enjoy attention on me, but I do appreciate being recognized. And Jennifer Howes, I think, is the one, or Drake is the one who nominated me, and I appreciate that she took that moment to do that for me. But thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is what it's all about, and I mean, your action saved somebody's life. I mean, how much more above and beyond can you be? So thank you so much. And we'd like for her family and those that are with her to stand to be recognized, whoever's with you. And co-workers. Next item, 2B, recognize the 2019 District PBIS Anti-Bullying Poster Contest winners, Mr. Hurst, or someone else, Mr. G. All right.
Y'all look alike.
Yeah.
If you think we look alike, we need to have an eye exam. Where's that nurse? We need an eye exam. First of all, good evening. We'd like to take a little time to thank our individuals tonight that took part in this PBIS anti-bullying campaign. It's something that the Student Services Department has worked on diligently to get the message across. So with that being said, tonight we'd like to recognize our winners for the poster campaign. Our first one is Samir Parker. Nope, not here. From Midway. Not here.
Give it to Miss
Tangi.
Yes, let her take that on.
And we have a gift card from Sonic also. Also from Midway, Norman Selders. Miss Tangi, very popular tonight. From Midway Elementary, Kylie Robertson. Come on down, Kylie.
Is this one of the little guys that won something earlier, Miss Tangi? Mr. Jinko?
Miss Tangi, is that Samir? Norman? Well, let's give him back. We're going to make you get the whole routine down. That's right. Our winner from Midway Elementary, Norman Selders.
Way to go, Norman.
Hey, can y'all make sure you get those new shoes in the picture? They look really sharp. I noticed that.
Gift cards in the pocket. Congratulations. Congratulations. From LaRanger Middle, Euchary Garcia. Yukari. I apologize, Yukari. From Martha Vineyard, Trinity Jones. No Trinity. From Laranja Middle, London Fols. You got a good one, Mom? You have to bend all that. Okay. From the Talbany Middle, Morgan Celestine. I thought I saw Miss Hammer. And our last winner is from the Talbany Middle, Kyrie Ambrose. Again, we'd like to thank everyone for their participation in this very important program. Thank you.
And those individuals that are here representing these winners, would you stand? Family or personnel at the school, all stand with these individuals. Thank you. Academic update on plan to recognize advanced students on the 2019 LEAP test. Ms. Fussell.
Good evening. Just wanted to let you all know about an initiative that we're working on right now for our students who scored advanced on their 2019 exams, and it stems from a recent study that Tangipahoa Parish School System was a part of. It actually was coordinated between the state and an outside research group. And what that study did, they took scores from the 2017.
Ms. Fussell, would you hold it for just 1 minute so these individuals can leave? Okay.
I thought you were going to say I wasn't speaking loud.
Yeah.
I was like, I
Yeah.
usually don't hear that.
Okay.
But I don't feel good tonight, so maybe I didn't have my phone.
Okay, that's okay. Just so we can hear you.
It's not me. I won't take it personally. It does. Start talking about test scores, people leave.
Okay, go ahead.
So this outside research group, they wanted to study the impact of sending some sort of recognition to students who scored advanced in a testing cycle. So they worked with many parishes in our state. We actually only had 133 students that were part of the study, and of course we don't know if they were in the control group or the treatment group. But basically, this outside group took the students who scored advanced on their 2017 assessment of the 133 that were in our district. They could only tell us about our results. And they sent them a letter saying, congratulations. I don't know if you realize what an important feat this is to score advanced. They sent them a certificate from the state superintendent, and they sent a letter to their parents with tips on how to continue to encourage the students, etc. So Ms. Stilley invited us to sit in on the call from the company who basically, they're still working on putting the study together, but they kind of wanted to give some of the results, and they said, look, we didn't find a statistically significant tie between sending these packets to students who scored advanced and them scoring advanced in 2018. However, in your district, of the students that were involved, we did see a statistical significance across all subgroups in the category of math. But they couldn't draw a conclusion just based on it being the packet because they don't know the other things we had going on. And we smiled at each other because we knew we had implemented a Tier 1 curriculum that was in its second year, and hopefully that's part of the results that they saw. But we love the idea. Ms. Stilley and Mr. Jinko and I said, even though they didn't see a statistical statistical significance across their groups, we saw some of our students who received that letter, put it on Tangie's parents, look what I received. So we decided to do that for our students from 2019. So we had 1,078 students who scored advanced in our spring testing. That's 3 to 8 and high school, 1 or more subjects. And so right now, our Family Engagement Center, they are preparing a letter. Ms. Stilley, we kind of took the packet the company did, but we revised it to make it Tangie special. So those students will receive a letter. They're going to receive a certificate from the district, and we'll have those mailed out to them, along with a letter to their parents, letting them know, look, this was a huge feat. Here's some other things you can do to continue to encourage your students. So we just wanted to update you on that initiative, where it came from, and we were really excited to hear. We were just sitting there when the guy said, across all subgroups in math, we did notice a bump with you all. We just grinned, because we know it's not just one thing, that it's many things our teachers, our administrators are working on every day. So any questions about that initiative, or?
Any comments, questions?
I'll just add that the packet that was sent out last year from the state superintendent and that company, this pilot, they had a lot of private donors that donated gift cards, right? It was McDonald's cards.
McDonald's, there was a $10 gift certificate from McDonald's.
So what we're going to do is put all these kids in drawings, and we're going to seek businesses out for different gift cards and things like that, and we'll be drawing those in December. We're hoping in December that we can live stream and announce students that are winning those cards and deliver them to their schools, because it's hard for us to come up with 1,077?
1,078, unless someone wants to donate 1,078.
But we do want to, really let them know that it is a great thing to be at advanced level. And many times when our parents even receive that score, they don't really know what that means. And so part of this letter that's sent to them is to explain to the parents how impressive it is to be at that level. And so I remember last year when we had some of our students receive those letters from the state superintendent, those packets, several families on Facebook had posted that they had received, recognition at the state level. And so we thought it was a great idea to continue that here in our parish.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Vassell.
4, consider committee reports. First one is Capital Outlay Committee of the Whole, November 5th, 2019. Do I have a motion to accept that report?
Motion to approve it.
Mr. Westmoreland, do I second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mingus. Any objection? Motion passes. Policy Committee, November 19th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Mr. Mingus, second. Mr. Westmoreland, any objection? That motion passes. Superintendent's reports, recommendations.
You're going to add the substantial.
Oh, that's right, tonight. That's right, exactly. All right, the Policy Committee meeting of tonight of November
The substantial completion thing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Chair.
Yeah, of the chair.
I just did.
Both? We have to add both,
I
right?
just did that.
You just did
I
policy.
just did the policy.
No.
Yeah, I did. From November 19th.
That's tonight. Yeah, you got that one.
You already did
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that one. Okay, Ms. Rose, what?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the substantial completion of the wheelchair lift at Ponchatoula High School, please.
Second.
Any objection? That motion passes. Thank you. Superintendent's reports, update on the 2019 statewide testing results. Ms. Stilley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to see you all this evening. You want to pull that PowerPoint up, Ms. Jenkins? Yes.
Ooh, we got a PowerPoint.
Yes, it'll be big picture and brief, I promise. So I just wanted to walk through some of our state results, which were released last week. Time goes by so fast, but I think it was last week. So I just want to run through some of the highlights and then provide some information where families can go and find more in-depth information about their schools. First of all, I wanted to start off the presentation by talking about the different levels that students can score on their state test. Am I close enough to the mic, Madam President? I can remember the day when, I was in the classroom in principal where, the goal was to try to get kids to basic. And we worked really hard. We had many of our students that were approaching basic. And the bar just seemed so high to get them to basic. I can remember trying to move so many unsatisfactory students to approaching and then to basic. Well, now the bar has been raised once more to mastery. And that is considered, mastery in advance is considered proficiency. What the research tells us is that if we can have a student, this is why this is important. If we can have a student at mastery of their core subjects, especially in ELA and math, their reading, writing, and arithmetic, if we can have them at mastery at the end of 8th grade when they take their 8th grade test, they are set up to be successful in high school. They will be successful in their subjects in high school, and they will be prepared for life after high school, regardless of the career path they take. If they choose to go college, they're prepared if they're at that mastery level, and they're also prepared if they choose to go the workforce pathway as well. So mastery is the goal. And so what we do is we begin working in 3rd grade to get, if they're not already at mastery, we look at the path each year at how much they need to increase each year in order to be at mastery by 8th grade. I can remember when I taught and even when I was principal, we would just really stress ourselves out thinking that we could move a kid from unsatisfactory to basic in a year, and that's really not a realistic goal to have because it's very difficult to do that. So what we do today is we look at, okay, if we want kids to be set up for life and be successful, we know they need to be at mastery in 8th grade. So how much each year do we need to move that student in order to get them to that mastery level by the end of 8th grade? This chart just provides it's an overview of the district. And I want to focus at the top. If you look at the very top, they have the overall district performance score. And that's looking at all of the different categories. It's sort of like the overall average of our district. We are still a C district. We moved up approximately right at about 2 points district-wide in the midst of implementing a new curriculum in both ELA and math, which is really phenomenal because typically during the first year of implementation, you do have a dip as teachers and students and parents adjust to the new curriculum. So hats off to our teachers across the district who work very hard, and that it shows in that overall district performance score at the very top. Then what happens is you'll see how it's broken down. So our district performance is made up of all of that whole list of indicators. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different components that make up the overall. And so if you look at those 9 components, and we have last year, of course, compared to this year's results, you see whether we have an increase or decrease in that last column. What I particularly like about this particular chart are the color coding, is the color coding. Because you can see the areas. For instance, if you look at the DCAI, if we were to get our overall district performance on that one component, we would be an A school district. And that DCAI is the number of Carnegie credits that students have at the end of their freshman year. That's a direct result of our junior highs offering Carnegie credits while they're still at junior high. So it's helping students to have more and more Carnegie credits at the end of their 9th grade year. So we're knocking it out of the park at that. We're doing super well in that particular component. If you look at the blue shades, if our district were to get our district performance only from those components, we would be a B school district. And that is the graduation cohort rate. And the graduation rate index, of course, as you know, is as high as this has been in 10 years. And you can see in that far right column, up 21.2 points in graduation rate. And you know, for many years now, our goal in education has been to get more and more students to walk across the stage with a diploma in their hand. But the goal has shifted to really add to that, because really no longer do we just want them to walk across the stage and say, I got the diploma. We want them to be able to walk across the stage and be prepared and ready for either to be successful in college, if that's what they choose to do, or be credentialed so that they can secure a job, they can make a living, and they can be productive citizens in our great parish that we live in. So the graduation rates are important. Then if you look at the strength of diploma, which basically is the credentials that kids are getting. You know, back in the day, most of us, and I remember, it was called vocational education. Now they call it industry-based credentials. And we actually had the economic, we had the workforce here last Friday in industry, getting input with our teachers on the different pathways that we offer. And the listing of every high school and what they offer is very impressive, and what our kids have the opportunity to get upon graduation. And it's at no cost to the parents, where back in the day, you know, we would need to go and take the classes at vocational to get those credentials. The progress index for K-8, of course, would be a B district. So you can see, right, just by glancing at that chart, the red areas are the areas that's bringing us down in our overall performance. And those have to do with the assessment index for both elementary and high school, which is basically the state test that they're taking, LEAP 2025. So we know, and we've talked several times since the scores have come out, and I'll share at the end about what we're doing specifically around those red areas that you see on the chart, because we have to get those up to the yellow and the blue area in order for us to grow overall in our district. This chart, I think, is really helpful for just seeing the big picture. We have 6 schools that, if you looked at their subcategories, they were an A in progress index, and that's Chesbro, Independence Magnet, O.W. Dillon, the Lab School, Amite Westside, and Woodland Park. What this means is that these students are growing students. They're taking students that are like approaching basic or unsatisfactory or below, and they're making those marks every year to get them to the point where they will be mastery at the end of 8th grade. So they're knocking it out of the park in that area. We have another 17 schools that are B in the progress index, which again, they're helping kids to stay on track. They're meeting their growth targets. Every student in our parish has a target, a growth target, in which they need to hit every year in order to be at that mastery level at the end of 8th grade. And so here's another, so we basically have, I think it's 24 of our 32 schools that are knocking it out of the park with providing interventions to students who are struggling academically to get them on track to be successful for life after high school and hit that mastery at 8th grade. Just a few special recognitions for some of our schools. Our Lab School will get the equity honoree and a top gain school as identified by the state of Louisiana. Chesbro Elementary is also a top gain school identified by the state. They moved from a C school to a B school in 1 year. Independence High School moved from a D to a C, and they had the highest ACT index in all of our parish. It was like a 98.2 or something like that. It was very high. Ponchatoula High School increased their ACT index by 6.7, which is pretty substantial, and they maintained the B status. Hammond High School is 1.6 points from being a B school, and they're very confident that they're going to hit that level next year on our 2020 assessments. Kentwood High School really were standing out in these 2 areas of strength of diploma, which is, again, the credentials that kids can earn while they're at Kentwood High School. This is a direct result of the partnership that we have with North Shore Technical College in Greensburg. We bus these students to that campus during the week so that they can get credentialed and be ready for the jobs after graduation. Also, their graduation cohort rate at Kentwood High School is 98, the highest in the parish. Sumner High School had a strength of diploma of a 96.7, which again, these are students that are not only getting credentials at Sumner High from their teachers, but they're also getting on buses and going to Greensburg site technical school to get credentials as well. And they were second to Kentwood on their graduation index rate of a 97.2. Laranja High School had a cohort grad, that should be grad rate, of a 93.2 as well. Basically, every school in our parish, if you look at this list, have a lot to brag about, and they have a lot to celebrate. We had a Zoom call on Monday with our principals, and that was the message, was that celebrate your successes, but also look at the other schools that have growth in different areas and learn from each other. I mean, this is a team effort here. It's a collective effort. Our families and anyone can go to this School Finder site. Right here, it's at the school center, School Finder in Louisiana. If you click on that particular site, and I'm not sure, you might be able to click on it. Can I click on it? Yeah? Click on it and see what happens. It takes you to the Louisiana School Finder site. You can put in the school name or your zip code, and you can pull up very specific information per school. And so that's a very helpful site for parents out there, business, industry, community, anyone that just would like to find out more specific information about our schools across the state. Now, how do we get back? Okay, here we go. All right. So moving forward, first of all, to increase our assessment index in grades 3 through 8, those were our red areas, if you remember. And our high school is continuing the implementation of our curriculum and supporting our teachers. The strength of quality of interventions that we're providing students at our schools, identifying students that are close to the achievement gap between subgroups, looking at our data, making sure that we're reporting clean data on graduation rates, on credentials for students, on ACT scores, because students take the ACT many times, multiple times. So we want to make sure that we have good, clean reporting so that our students and our schools get the most credit that they can for those areas. We want to continue to align our funds and our department resources and our instructional materials to support student achievement. We want to all be rowing the boat in the same direction. We want to support our teachers with content knowledge, instructional strategies through the NIET rubric and collaborative practices. I've had several conversations with teachers over the past few weeks, and one of the things that we see is when we see a school that is really strong in their growth, and I'll name Chesbro. I forgot to put this on the slide, but they were double-digit growth in their math from last year to this year. And one of the strong practices that you see there is not just the district professional development that we offer on our professional days, but you can go there on any given day and see teachers in that collaboration room together for math or ELA, talking through the curriculum. What are the challenges, sharing with each other how they work through those, looking at student work, and that's how we move a school, and that's how we move students as individuals closer. We want to keep that sense of urgency and a very laser focus on student achievement. Our principal meetings are focused on student achievement, is focused on our principals, supporting teachers. That's it. We're very protective of that time. They're at the school. They take turns at different schools. They go through on walkthroughs. They observe teachers together. And then we have our Zoom meetings, which is like video, where we talk about chicken nuggets, transportation, and all the other stuff that it goes into running a school. So we keep that focus this year as well with our assistant principals, our mentor teachers, our content leaders. So overall, we're very pleased with our results. I sent an email to our employees using the analogy of riding a bicycle for the first time. I think that's what we were doing last year with new curriculum. Sometimes we're a little wobbly when we first ride a bike. Sometimes we're hitting the brakes when we're trying to do the pedals all at the same time. We fall down, we skin up. But in the second year, it's a smoother ride. And I think that's what we're seeing consistently across our parish as well. I've scheduled to go with Ms. Fussell to our high schools. My goal is before we get out for Christmas holidays, I'd like for us to go together to all of our high schools, walk around, talk to the teachers, hear how we can support them better, more efficiently, see them teaching the curriculum in the classrooms. And then in January, I will begin to schedule with the elementary supervisors in middle school to pair up with them and go into the schools and do the same thing. And I think that's really important for me to see two things. One, the teachers in action doing what they do best every day. And then secondly, to ask them, how we can support them, and then to just thank them for the work that they do every day in our school, because I can promise you we would not have these results without our teachers. So that's our presentation, and I'll take any questions that you might have.
Ms. Dominguez?
I was just wondering, you're talking about the collaboration and the way you changed the process of our principals, elementary, middle, high school, instead of having one big principal meeting. You think that may have helped them collaborate better as well?
Absolutely.
We hadn't heard any more about that, so.
Yeah, so our high school principals alternate their meetings every month at different high schools. The focus, they're looking at high school curriculum. They're talking about how to support high school teachers. They go in those classrooms. The middle school, junior high group does the same thing, and then our elementary. What we started doing this year to add to that is we're including like our capacity building, like our content leaders at every school, our curriculum coaches at every school, and assistants. We're doing that same model with them this year because we found it very effective last year. And also, many of our folks really don't get an opportunity to visit other schools. Mm-hmm. They're only at their school all day. So we think that's a growth opportunity right there, just to be able to go to other schools across the parish and just see. You can learn from each other, and that's really a collective. That's what we want to see. It's teamwork, it's collectiveness, it's all of us. It's not just about my school or your school, but it's all of us together.
How does it work with a school that's more like Champ Cooper K through 8 or West Side's K through whatever? Do they go elementary or middle or what?
They usually switch it up during the year. So, for instance, Mr. Shartina may go to some of the elementary ones sometimes, and then the next month he'll go to the junior high. He does both. So, in those cases where we have combinations, they switch it up. Like same with Kentwood High School. With Mr. Bates, he has 7th and 8th grade on his campus, but he also has high school. So having that flexibility to move in between groups, I think is very important for our principals.
Do our assistant principals have those same style meetings?
This year we started. Jill Foster heads up what we call our capacity building. So we're building capacity in those assistants, curriculum coaches, content leaders, mentor teachers to hopefully step up one day and be principals. And so we've started this year going into the schools and doing that same model that we did last year with our principals, and it's working very well.
That's good. Thank you. Good job.
Ms. Stilly, so we have kids moving from one class to the next, right? So having being able to maintain that fluency between going from, say, K to 4,
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's where it's broken up, K to 4, and going into the junior high level. the strategies that are used to used in the pre-K, are they using that like a prerequisite for moving on into the next group?
Right.
In other words, is there some coordination between groups so that they're communicating?
Like feeder schools?
Yes.
Yes. Well, one thing that I think is helpful for us is we have the continuum K-12, the same curriculum. So, maybe what happened before in years past is you had different types of curriculums and different grade bands, and sometimes that can be an issue just in terms of gaps with achievement. So we have K-12 continuum with curriculum, same in all of our schools. So even if a student moves from school X to Y in the parish, it's the same curriculum and the grade bands. And I do think that more work, I think some areas do that better, like Ponchatoula, and maybe in the Hammond area, the principals talk more about the transition to the different schools. But I do think there's a lot more work we need to do in that area in terms of transitioning kids from, if they go here to this elementary and then they go into another junior high. So I think that's work that we've got to do more of.
Anybody else? Mr. Duncan? No? We got Mr.
Quick
Bush?
question. When will are we going to be doing the new ACT scoring this spring? Because if I'm reading it correctly, well, me.
Yeah, students can take just a subject versus the whole test again.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
That's this year, isn't it?
I don't think it's in this testing cycle, but it's their upcoming. Right now, they're doing the trainings on how you will combine for the composite.
So Mr. Bush is, typically if you have a student that scored low on their ACT, let's say they have a 17 and they're trying to get it up, they had to take the whole ACT again. Well, upcoming is that if it's just math that really was bringing them down, that was like their red area, then they can just focus on math and then go take just the math portion, and it's recalculated. So we think that's going to be an advantage for a lot of our students.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But not this spring, but next spring.
Yes, sir. I think they have this testing cycle set, but I'll get the exact date.
Okay.
Two things. I noticed at Independence High School, they implemented a new program that I'm sure many of their seniors did not particularly like, but it had a significant impact on their school performance score. Specifically, they were making those seniors who were not scoring at a certain level
18, I believe it was.
that they could not leave half a day when they finished their core classes and had to do an ACT workshop or something like that. I guess the question about that is this, since we have seen that was a very successful initiative, is that something that we're looking at doing on a larger scale as a district?
I'm pretty certain that there's been some conversation between our high school principals about that, which I thought it was pretty clever for them to take that stance to say, you can't leave a half a day if you don't have this certain score. So I think that's something definitely, Lisa, that we're going to be talking about with our principals upcoming. I think it's something that we definitely need to look into and perhaps do district-wide.
May have to get some of the principals some extra security or something. But the other thing and you talked about it already, but it's something that I've been saying for years, going back when I was the chairman of the State Accountability Commission. I really appreciate and think it's important that we focus on this progress index a lot more. It's not to say the assessment index is not important. The assessment index only measures what percentage of the students are at mastery or proficiency. And that's an important thing for parents to know and the district needs to know. But in the past, before we started including progress, to me it was a very unfair way to grade what was actually happening in schools, because very often we would have schools that students would come in and they may be 2 to 3 grade levels behind, and that school may have just done tremendous work to bring a whole group of students up, maybe a grade and a half in 1 year. So they were doing tremendous work, but if they didn't get them to mastery or to whatever proficiency was at that point, there was nothing in the index to give them any credit for all of the work that they did. And it was always my opinion that if a school raised a child up more than one grade level in 1 year, then that was incredible work. And so now with the progress index, that's what we're actually able to show. And so for so many schools in our district to be able to now show on their report card that they are growing students more than a grade per year, or whatever they were doing, to me that is a much more accurate indicator of success or what's actually going on at that school. It was always unfair to fault a school for the fact that they had so many kids that were coming in way behind. The work we're doing with kids in the schools is from where we get them to where we got them to where we got them at the end of the year. And that's what the progress index is supposed to be showing. So that's, I think, something that hopefully we can brag about or continue to brag about. And I know that as we continue to have success on that progress index, it's going to show up eventually on the assessment index over time.
Yes, it will. Yep. That, you're so right on that. And I think when you just think about if you do the math, which I'm not really a math person, but 75% of our schools are knocking it out of the park with growing the kids they have and moving them closer and closer to the mastery mark, so that eventually they will be at mastery by the end of 8th grade. And when we look at the data, it's actually our high school areas that are struggling the most with moving students and growing them. But our K-8 schools are doing a tremendous job and should be applauded for that. Because what that means is those students are not just getting the regular instruction, but they're getting additional help and interventions by their teachers at the school. So that's like going above and beyond what some teachers just do in other districts, the basics.
I had one other thing, I'm sorry. There was also a number of our schools that the way the report cards are broken down now also breaks down the success level that we have within subcategories, particularly economically disadvantaged students. There's a way that you can dig in on the report card, and I know Ms. Stille, you'll agree with me on this, that when we've studied the kids that we have the most difficulty getting them where we need them to be, because of all of the trauma-informed whatever, those kids that come from economically disadvantaged homes are some of the most difficult to get where we want them to be. And we had a lot of schools that did well in that particular category, that they were able to do that extra, much more complicated work to get those students where we needed them to be. And I was really really happy to see that we had that success as well. I don't remember which school exactly it was, but it was good.
Other comments, or? Ms. Stille, when they retake the ACT or they take them more than once, do they pay every time, or do they pay the students?
We provide the one, and we do the one in the spring, right, Lisa?
Spring of the junior year
is what we pay.
The spring of the junior year, we
pay.
provide. And then after that, they're on their own?
Right, but they do get waivers, so if you are economically disadvantaged, you can get up to 2 waivers.
What?
And all of our schools do a really good job of sharing that and getting those out to the students.
Really? About how much is it? Do you know? Is it?
Who pays for the waiver?
It used to be 36,
Who-
and when I paid it last time, I paid 50.
It's like 40, 50 bucks. I could have got a waiver. God.
You gotta be real poor.
No, I'm joking. But they do take a pre-ACT in 10th grade.
And we pay for that.
Practice.
Yeah.
Yes. and y'all-
We pay for that and the first one in the junior year.
Yes.
And then they pay after that. It's about,
Most of them are taking it earlier than that, paying on their own, but they get one free one in their junior year, and the pre-ACT's covered by the district.
is there any limit to how many they can take?
the ACT world, it's 11, that the colleges will look at, like, you can't take it 30 times, but 11 was used to be the limit. I haven't looked to see if it's been updated.
Wow.
But with the new scoring system, it could be,
Right, they're probably gonna change.
it's gonna be up there.
Right,
You could take it over and over until you get the greatest score you can get.
Yeah.
they're gonna have to revise it.
Melissa, one question. In the B, like a 74, 5?
75.
75? So I thought, thanks.
It's 75? I thought
B
you
is
said.
on the scoring up here,
Oh,
a B is
okay.
75,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
One thing I didn't talk about tonight, but is, I know we had Ms. Carmen Brabham here last board meeting, I believe, talking about our pre-K and all that. But, when you have a high population of what we call at-risk students, high poverty, getting them into a pre-K, quality pre-K program is critical. And, we really want to look at offering more for 3-year-olds in our parish. And all of that will have impacts on that 8th grade mastery level. Because when we can get students at a young age beginning to talk and, tell stories and socialization and get them into school, we can move them. And so that work is critical. We don't talk about it a lot. But early childhood is critical work that we do in order to prepare them for regular kindergarten once they start in our system.
And surely there's research to prove that,
Oh,
that
lots
the
of
early
it.
childhood for
Yes.
the scores, yeah. Does anybody else have any more comments? Thank you so much. It was wonderful, and I'm really proud of all of our people and our improvement. Very
Yes.
proud.
And I would like to personally thank each board member for your support of our system and all that you do every day, the conversations that we're having, all really good stuff. And it's a team effort. It starts here, but it goes all the way down into the classrooms and even out into the communities with our parents and our business and civic groups. So just want to thank you for your role.
Thank
that you
you.
play in this.
All right.
Thanks.
All
I'd
right.
like to apologize to my daughter, Miss Dilly. She's not quite as academically successful as my son, so I don't know what kind of ACT score she's going to have, but we're gonna work on her, right, and get her up there.
She's going to get him for that.
She's going to kill me if I.
I was going to say, she's going to get you for that one.
She's a great softball pitcher.
Okay.
All right, so B, right?
Yes. I would like to ask the board to consider approval. So let me back up just a second. Last year we did a contract with Forethought to look at our entire policy manual and make recommendations for revisions or deletions from that. And they have sent us a portion, it's called Section D, in which they have made recommendations for changes or deletions or revisions in our policy manual. Our executive team has reviewed those, and we're ready now to send those to our policy committee. So I'd like to make a recommendation that we refer that Section D that Forethought has recommended to our next policy committee meeting.
Do I hear a motion?
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. Toller, a second.
Second.
Ms. Janice, your turn. Okay. All right, any objection? That motion passes. General updates.
Just one brief update. We have 2 of our high school teams, of course, Kentwood and A-Meet, that are in the next round of playoffs. Kentwood is playing at home this week. A-Meet is traveling to Welch, which is about 2.5 hours from here. And it's, we're letting out, we've talked to the principals and our executive team, and we are agreeing to let them out about 1:30, I think, on Friday. The A-Meet feeder schools, and that's to allow, I think it's staged out, so some let out at 1:30.
Amy High and Amy West Side at 1:30, Amy Elementary and Roseland are 2:05.
So we're just letting out a little bit early, so because they do have to travel through Baton Rouge, and even though there's traffic coming from Baton Rouge, there's equally, if not more, traffic leaving Baton Rouge going to Lafayette every day, the work traffic. So just for the safeness of our people traveling over there across that basin and all that, we thought that it would be a better idea to let them out just a tiny bit early on Friday.
Any more?
That's it. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, personal privilege, Mr. Westmoreland?
I'd just like to say thank you to all the teachers and everyone else involved, all the way up to the superintendent for the statewide testing. I think that's only a small part of what's going to come through the next few years. So I'm very proud of that.
Amen. Ms. Rose?
Yes, ma'am. I would just like to report, last weekend I went to Natchitoches for our state school board had hosted a Trailblazer workshop. Want to make sure that gets in the minutes for my CLUs, and I really learned a lot about with the things that were deadlines coming up, like the December 1st deadline. There are also a January deadline about a special education policy that has to go in effect too. So I also, one of the workshops was about bonding and how to get money and what to do and what not to do. And that was great. So I'll share my notes about that. I know Mr. Schnotterbuck knows a lot already about that, but it was quite a great workshop. I appreciate the opportunity to go. The other thing I would just kind of like to throw out to Ms. Fazell, the state school board at our state convention coming, in February. Every year we have some sort of a contest. There's an opportunity to win $5,000 for videos. The contest this year is Louisiana Believes in Public Schools, and it's the contest. If you could look at our state school board website, there's a link on the side that tells what the contest is. The contest is basically what we do. We do a lot of initiatives as far as vocational, and it only has to be a couple of minute video. It doesn't even have to be a CD. It can be loaded up on YouTube. I think it'd be a great opportunity for us to participate in that contest because we do a lot of great, innovative classes in our schools that we should showcase. And the other one was also a film type festival, which Mr. Duncan's wife does, the film at at Hammond High. So maybe we could I just wanted to throw that out that we are not participants usually, but we have a great opportunity to showcase the things that we do at some of these activities. So I just wanted to remind everybody and Ms. Stilley and your staff that we really be great if we could show off a little bit in one of these contests.
For next year?
Well, now the deadline is for the video. One of the videos is January 6th. So, they still have time. The other one's not till March. So, it's a great opportunity for us to showcase
That's right.
all these great things that we do, So
That's great.
just wanted to remind you about that. That was it.
Okay, Mr. Moore?
Yeah, I would just like to take my hat off to the facilitators and the promoters of the opposition to bullying, because I know that is a huge thing that goes on in schools that we need to constantly be aware of, and to the winners as well, those who chose to, because that takes a bit of courage to step up and even do a poster or do a presentation against bullying. So,
That's good. Mr. Bush?
Let all our employees have a happy Thanksgiving next week, and then you work hard. Southeastern plays for the Southland Championship Thursday at 6 o'clock at SLU Strawberry Stadium. They'll be playing, I think it's called the River City Bell Classic against Nicholls State. So we get excited about LSU and the Saints, but we ought to go support the Lions.
That's good.
Thursday night, 6 o'clock, SLU.
Ms. Stilley? I just want to once again say how excited I am about our improvements in our test scores. And when Ms. Stilley first sent them out, and I called her, I said, "Am I seeing this right?" I was just so amazed at the improvement. It's not that we're there or anything, but everybody involved in this it's just a concerted effort to improve, and that's where we are. And I'm so excited about that, and I want to thank everybody. All right.
And just real quick, just want to congratulate the schools and the staff, the administrators that make that happen. As board members, we get a lot of input from the public when there's a potential vacancy at a school, especially for principal. And everybody has their reasons for who they want to see become a principal. And then when I see somebody like Ms. Varnado or Dr. Varnado that came from a curriculum background, from the classroom to a curriculum position, and then back as a principal, I've actually heard those teachers say, that really worked well. It worked well. So we have to put more faith in our administrators when we start talking about hiring and firing principals. It's not a popularity contest, and it's not they've been there the longest. It really matters what they bring to that office as principal. And I'm going to use that example in the future when people start ringing my phone about open positions. It really matters. So hats off to them.
And, that brings to mind the fact, too, sometimes it's a proper fit. That
Absolutely.
when one is moved from one to another, doesn't mean that something's wrong with them. It means that they just fit better. And we'll watch that, and sure enough, it happens a lot. It's totally different in a different situation. So that's a good thing. All right, Miss Janice.
I'd just like to say congratulations to all of the schools and for all of the hard work that they've done to bring our scores up. I mean, I was just like you, I was just amazed, and I was like, oh, this is just wonderful. It's just to show all of the teamwork
That's right.
that we're doing. Thank you.
Mr. Duncan?
I wanted to, I've said this at previous meetings, but wanted to say it again, just thanking the administration for bringing us these academic updates during the school board meetings. It's helpful for us as board members to kind of hear this information on a regular basis. But I would also point out, I think that it has also helped in community relations and even with our stakeholders. For them, it gives them an opportunity to hear about these things that, they may have been going on for a long time, but when there's just kind of a vacuum of information, the default position nowadays is just to be negative about anything and everything. And so you almost have to be intentional about always reminding people about the good things that are going on. And I'm hearing that, I'm seeing that, both from these academic updates that we're doing at the meetings, but I've also seen where the district has been intentional about pushing things out on Facebook, particularly like our technical programs, things like that. The public really, I think, is hearing that, and they appreciate it, and hopefully it's resonating with them. I even had a teacher contact me after one of our recent updates asking how they can get engaged in that particular program because it was something that they needed in their classroom, and they didn't know that it was available to them. And so they reached out, and then we connected the dots. And so it's just a really good thing. I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate that and how I think it's making a difference.
Yes, Miss Robin.
I had the opportunity to go and sit as a, I don't want to say judge, but on the panel at the alternative school to listen to the students trying to get back into their home school. I was so impressed with some of the speeches these children made, these young adults made to us. And some of them were in junior high school, but most of them were high school. Just, they truly knew what they did wrong. And they truly knew what they needed to do to get back into their home schools. And they were just so impressive. I really enjoyed listening to them, and I think they're going to do well when they go back into their home schools. And I just want people to realize, you make a mistake in life, but it's not to define who you are. And that's what we kept telling these students over and over again, and they realized that. And it was just very impressive just to see them and where they're going now. Also, a shout out to Chastity Collier over at Independence High School with her scores with the students there. She's been named the Grand Marshal of the Independence Christmas Parade, so we're excited about that for doing what she's doing in Independence. Hats off to Coach Messina. It's been 50 years since Laranja High School has gone 10-0. So he didn't make it past the first round of playoffs, but we're so proud of Laranja Wolves and what they've done. Also the Independence Tigers, even though they had a rough year, kudos to them for all of their wins that they had this year, and it's only going to get bigger and better, I'm sure. Everybody have a happy, happy, happy Thanksgiving.
Very good. Any other comments? And no public input? And no executive session? So motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, second. Adjourned.